What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm gonna share with y'all my best kept secret. Typically on this channel, what we do is share recipes that are lower in calories, higher in protein, good for weight loss, building muscle. That's mainly what we do. But today, we are not doing that. Not even a little bit. Because today we are making authentic Texas style brisket, which in my opinion is one of the best foods on this planet when you do it right. I've been smoking meat for over a year now and I've messed up more briskets than I can count. But through that adversity, I ultimately found success. I have the perfect method right now, a foolproof method to get a juicy, tender, moist brisket every single time on my pellet grill. And in today's video, I'm gonna show you guys how we do that. So if y'all are ready to get another epic video underway, then as always, man, I'm here to do it for you. Let's do it! Yeah! We are gonna be starting this off with a whole Packer style prime beef brisket. One huge tip that I can give you when it comes to making a brisket is to buy prime grade over choice grade. There's a lot more fat and a lot more marbling throughout, so it's way less likely to dry out and it's way more forgiving in the cook. Early on, I would buy choice not even knowing, or I would just buy like a brisket flat not even knowing. I would smoke it would come out super dry, and that's because there wasn't as much fat on the inside. So when you're making one at home, yeah, it might be a couple more bucks to grab the prime, but it is so worth it, especially given all the time we're gonna put into this baby. So the first step, we open her up from the vacuum seal. You're gonna notice she's a little damp. What I like to do is go in with paper towels and just blot it, get some of that excess moisture off of there, flip her over to the fat side, and do the exact same thing. Now that we got the meat dried off, unwrapped, it is time to do some trimming. What we're trying to do here is eliminate some of the stuff that's not gonna be good in the cook. Like right here, I don't know if you can hear that, but this is hard fat. That is not going to render down. We have some fat hanging over the edge here. We're just gonna start trimming this. So what I like to do is start with the meat side. I'm gonna go through and start removing some of this hard fat. That knife right up under there. And look at that, basically pure fat right there. And if you look down in here at what I'm doing, I'm really kind of just scooping this fat out. From this one spot, we have taken out that much fat. So there's quite a bit there and it's not gonna render down. So I'm probably just about done with this part. That right there looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna flip her around. You see all this fat right here, pure fat. We're just gonna take this off, get it looking a little better. And then right here on the top of the brisket, I'm just gonna go in and remove some of this fat that's just kind of hanging out here right on top. And honestly, with a trim, you can get about as crazy as you wanna get. I mean, you could probably, on this side, stop right here, leave some of this on, it's still gonna turn out great. But I think if you want perfect results, you want this thing to not only be beautiful, but tasty, really kind of going the extra mile with this trim, taking off little stuff like that, goes a long way. And at this point, with the top of the brisket, I'm pretty happy with the trim. We got a lot of the fat off of here. I ended up digging a little bit more of that out. It was a little deeper than I thought. We had some pieces flapping off the back we knocked off. Down here towards the end, it can tend to get a little thin and that tends to burn up in the cook. So I like to just get rid of that, round it out. Overall, this side looks great to me. So now we flip it and we do the back. And with the back here, you're gonna notice that we have a lot of thick fat. And the goal here is to just thin it out a little bit. We still want a thin little layer of fat, but you do wanna go through with your knife and get rid of some of this thicker stuff. We want this thing to be able to render down effectively, and with too much fat, it's not gonna do it exactly how we want it. And just take a look at this right here so you can see what I'm talking about. Look how thick that is. We wanna bring that down. I mean, even down here at this end, that's pure fat. So we just wanna thin that out. Go in here with our knife. I do recommend wearing some knife-safe gloves. That'll help a ton. Start chopping away at some of this. See, look at that right there. Whew. All right, we got the back trimmed, evened out, flip it over, we got the top good. Overall, man, this looks pretty good to me. Don't get too intimidated by the trimming part. When I first started doing briskets, I overthought it and I sat and I really tried to like carve all this fat out and I tried to really take every single piece off the top. I would trim the fat down on the back until it was almost gone, and to be honest, none of it has really made a ton of difference. The biggest thing is basically everything I'm gonna show you after this part. So once we have this thing trimmed and looking good, it's time to add our seasoning. Now, when it comes to seasoning this thing, we're gonna be using a dual seasoning approach. The first layer is gonna be this Heads County Championship seasoning, which is a basic barbecue seasoning. Garlic powder, paprika, things like that. We add that as our first layer. And then our second layer is gonna be a traditional Texas blend, which is just kosher salt and coarse black pepper. Texas barbecue is heavy on the salt and pepper, so this will be the final layer that we add. Keep in mind, you can skip the first one if you want. I've just had good luck with it. Ever since I started using it, my briskets seem to come out better. And barbecue is one of those things, you spend all that time doing it, you find something that works, you just keep doing it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go through and season this thing thoroughly. Keep in mind, this is a big piece of meat, so it can hold quite a bit of seasoning. I just want nice coverage all over the top of it. Once I have a good spot, I'm gonna go through with one hand and just kind of pat it in. Make sure you get up here, get the sides. You want everything to be seasoned. That way, every bite you get not only gets that delicious brisket flavor, but you're getting that little bite of something extra. And so once we've done the sides, we're gonna flip her over. We're gonna give a nice layer on the fat side as well. Go ahead, pat that in. And then once I got the first layer of seasoning down, I'm gonna go in with that salt and pepper. And this is where I'm gonna get pretty heavy, because it's gonna help create that authentic Texas bark. I always try to tell people, you'll look at this and you'll think that you have enough. And when you reach that point, just add a little bit more. The smoker is gonna turn this into a beautiful piece of meat. Get the sides as well. Give her a flip. And we're just gonna hit this side the exact same way. And boom, this is what a perfectly seasoned Texas style brisket looks like. Now what we wanna do is let this sit out for about 30 minutes to an hour, let the meat sweat a little bit. It's gonna make that seasoning really adhere to it and make it that much better. Now, let's go fire up the smoker. And check it out, man. I just got a brand new Z-Grill's pellet style smoker. If you're wondering what this is, basically, it's a Traeger for like a quarter of the price. This thing does wonders. I actually loved it so much, I originally had this one, and I needed to upgrade to a bigger one. So now, I got two smokers. But let me show you how easy this makes barbecue. All I'm gonna do is go down here, turn the dial to smoke, and what that's gonna do is burn off any extra pellets that are down in the firebox. It's gonna smoke for a little bit, it's gonna turn clear, and then we'll set the temperature. And check how easy this is, man. Instead of loading logs in or having to manage a fire, you just buy wood pellets, either from Z-Grills, you get them at Lowe's, Home Depot, Kroger, wherever. You just fill this little guy up, and instead of having to actually watch the temperature, you just set your temperature gauge on here, and this thing has a thermometer inside, so it's gonna keep it right where you want it. It makes the margin for error extremely tiny. Here's the thing, if you've been watching my vlogs, you've been seeing some of this meat I've been smoking, pulled pork, my Thanksgiving turkey, the briskets. You might think that you need this crazy equipment to do it, but for real, instead of spending all the money on a Traeger or buying another brand, it's gonna cost way more. You can get this thing, and I'm telling you, this has cranked out some of the best meat that I've ever had, and it's like literally so easy to use. So I will link this in the description box below if you wanna check out the exact model I got, but I'm telling you, do not spend too much money on one of these things. You can get a great one from a company like Z-Grills, and it's gonna do the exact same thing, man. Save money, eat good, it's a plus. That's a win right there, bud. So I had it on the smoke setting. Now there's no more smoke coming out of it. So what I did was set the temperature to preheat to 180 degrees. I wanna make this thing low and slow. So you're gonna see here, the temperature gauge is going up. A lot of times what happens when you set the temperature, it's gonna go up above it, it's gonna burn off all the fire, it's gonna regulate, and it's gonna come back down. So this will probably take like 10 minutes or so. That temperature's gonna dial in, and we're gonna be ready to put the brisket on. So we just got the grill up to temp, it's stabilized. Now we're gonna put the brisket on. Now in this part right here is crucial. What I wanna do, the fat side, right? I want that facing up, and I wanna take the point, which is the thicker, fattier meat, and I want it to be as close as possible to the firebox in here. So let me just sit that down right here. And just to give you a closer look of what I'm talking about, the heat emanates from this unit from right here. I wanna put the thicker side, the fattier side, over here. It's gonna get a little more heat than the flat. The flat has a tendency to dry out, so we're gonna leave it over here. That's helped me a ton. And then putting it fat side up, I'm not sure why it happens. Some people say it's because the fat, as you're cooking it, it kind of bastes the meat below it as it renders down. But for me, I just get a moister, better brisket when I do it this way. So now that we got this in here, let me show you the next crucial step. Now what we wanna do is stick a temperature probe in our meat. I have a Weber iGrill. They make a lot of different brands. I like this one because there's an app on your phone. It Bluetooths to it and tells you what temperature the meat is. But we're gonna smoke this overnight. And just in case something gets away from us, I like to have a probe in there so when I wake up, use the restroom, grab a drink, whatever. I check the temperature just to make sure we're good to go. We're shooting for a goal of 165 degrees before we wrap it. And with this guy here, I know exactly when I'm gonna get there. All I'm gonna do is take my probe, and I wanna choose a spot right here in the middle where it's a little thick between the flat and the point. Get it right in there, close the lid, and then check it out. I pull up the app on my phone. You can see right now the temperature of the meat's 59 degrees, and I'm gonna wrap it at 165. So this will monitor it throughout the entire cook, connected right to my phone. Helps me keep a better eye on it. Can't recommend that enough. And now we get to just relax. That's what I love about a pellet grill, is that you don't gotta manage the fire, manage the temperature, nothing like that. It's gonna keep it right in that range, and we don't really gotta overthink it. In the past, I would try to do my barbecue cooks, like start them real early in the morning, but I never had enough time. They were never done when I wanted them. The way we're gonna do it now, it's gonna be done probably right before noon, right around noon, and then we're gonna be able to hold it all day. I'm gonna show you guys how to do that, and then whenever we wanna serve it, we're gonna pull it out. It's gonna be juicy, and it's gonna be incredible. So right now, it's about 7:15. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning at 7. It should be right in primetime wrap mode, and I will return with this video. So for now, I'm gonna relax a little bit, catch some Z's, and I will see you guys in the morning after the overnight smoke. And through the power of video editing, it is now exactly 12 hours later. If you look here at the brisket, we've developed a nice crust. This is literally looking perfect. The goal here was to reach 165 degrees internal temperature. I went around, I probed it, and honestly, the timing ended up perfect. I think this brisket's a little smaller than what I normally do, so literally it needed 12 hours exactly, and it's good to go. So what I have here is 2 pieces of butcher paper overlapping. I'm gonna wrap this up for the final leg of the cook. All I'm gonna do is center this up a little bit, take the ends of my butcher paper, fold them up, fold this over like so, and bingo, perfect. Give her another flip. What I'll do is give her one more flip, and then we'll tuck these in right here. Bingo, ready to go back on. And now all I'm gonna do is place this back on, same as before. Fat cap towards the firebox, fat side up, bingo. Then I'm gonna go ahead and stick my probe through the paper right back down in so I can monitor that temperature. So at this point, all I did on the smoker was raise the heat up to 250 degrees. We were running at 180 for the overnight, but now since we're finishing it out, it's already wrapped, we can raise that heat up and it's gonna go perfect. We probably have, I would say, a couple more hours, 2 to 3, until this reaches the target of 200 degrees. At that point, we're gonna test it out. Make sure it's tender. If I can take my meat thermometer, my probe, stick it down in and it glides in and out like butter, then I know it's gonna be a perfect brisket. And some people might be wondering why we wrap it. Basically, the overnight smoke sets that bark into place. You saw it, it's nice and dark, it's nice and crispy. But if we decided not to wrap it, which you can do, but it can overcook that bark. I like that bark to be perfect. So we wrap it that way, the outside's not getting any punishment and that smoke's gonna permeate that paper and finish it out. So right now, sitting at 168 degrees, I just needed to hit 200. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna run to the gym, do some cardio. By the time I get back, it should be pretty close to done. Once it reaches that point, we'll test it and see where we're at. All right, just got back from the gym. It is roughly about 2.5 hours later, and right when I got back, this thing was at the perfect temperature. So what I'm gonna do is take my ThermoPro, stick it down in. You'll notice it's a little hard to puncture the paper, but you'll know it's done. As soon as you get through the paper, it just glides like butter right in there. So that's looking good. Right here in the middle is where I like to get my accurate temperature from. Right here, we're sitting at, I don't know if you can see that, 204, 205. That is perfect to me. And at this point, the brisket is done. The last thing we want to do though is cut into it and serve it right now. That is not optimal. You want this thing to at least rest for an hour. So normally, if you knew you were going to serve it in like an hour, 2 hours, you could actually drop this down in a cooler, let it rest until it was serving time. But for me normally, because right now it is only 10:30 in the morning. So typically I'm not serving these things till 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. So pro tip, this is what all the barbecue restaurants do, but basically I will preheat my oven to 170 degrees. What that's gonna do is create a holding oven for the brisket. It's gonna allow it to not only rest, but it's not gonna continue to cook it, nor is it gonna let it fall below food safe temperature. For me, this is ideal. I'm not typically serving my briskets, like I said, until later on in the day. So I can hold it in here 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, and as soon as I'm ready to serve it, I pull it out, slice it, and she is super juicy and perfect every single time. Once I discovered this trick, it really made smoking stuff for me easier because all of my smokes I just do overnight, get the majority of it out of the way, wake up in the morning, wrap it, let it finish out while I'm running some errands, going to the gym, and then I can literally toss it in here and it's perfect. I've done this with beef ribs, with pulled pork, with multiple briskets, and it is essential. So what I'm gonna do now is wait 30, 45 more minutes, let this sit out, drop in temperature a little bit, and then I'm gonna toss it in here. And I'm gonna let it rest for at least 2 to 3 hours before I pull it out and I really start slicing into it. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna let this rest. I'll return here in a little bit and I will show you what the finished product looks like. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, after letting this rest for a few hours, I think she is now ready to go. And check it out, that bark is perfect, which is where doing that low, slow overnight cook comes into play. I don't know if you can see this thing is jiggly, man. The one thing about brisket that's easy to do is dry it out. But when you cook it like how I showed you, you're guaranteed a moist brisket. So let me get in here, do our first slice right down the middle. Oh, that is like butter. Oh my gosh. And oh my God, look how juicy that is, right? Look at that. Let me show you right here. I push down. Look at that juice just coming out. This is how you want to do it. I've made so many dry briskets to get to this point. This perfect method I've found, and this is what you're looking for. When it's moist like that, we got our smoke ring around the edge. Oh, this looks great. Go ahead and handle this point just like butter. Falls right through. Oh my goodness. And if I grab a piece of the point, the ultimate test, look at that. Folds right over. That is exactly what you want. That is perfect. Let's see if it's tender. Give it a little pull test. Just falls right apart. And then obviously I gotta do a taste test. Oh my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, you just don't beat this. That is perfect Texas style brisket. Wow. Now we'll get a piece right off of the flat. Oh, check that out. Just pulls right apart. Obviously, I gotta try this too. Even that lean, super moist, smoke flavor, the bark, incredible. Oh my gosh. If you've never had authentic Texas barbecue done how I showed you, it really is like meat candy. That's the only way I can describe it. Truly, this is a 10 out of 10 food. Hands down. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is how I make the perfect brisket on a pellet grill. You don't need nothing crazy. Don't gotta do anything too fancy. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, understanding those temperatures, and being there at the end to enjoy it when it's finished. Appreciate you guys, as always, for watching. I know this is a little different than what I normally do. This is like a weekend side hobby of mine. If you watch the channel, or let's say you're new to the channel, you might notice that I have a lot of recipes on here. The majority of those are geared towards fitness. We're trying to make foods that are delicious, but also good for, you know, building a little bit of muscle, losing a little bit of weight, being lean. So if you happen to stick around on the channel, those recipes are great. Or if you want to have a digital cookbook, link down below in my description with every single one of my recipes in it. That way, if you're the type of person that likes to cook and you want your diet to do some good for you, then hey man, check that out. If you want to see more smoking videos, I can show you how I do my pulled pork on a pellet grill. We can do some dino beef ribs. We can do something crazy. So if you enjoy this, let me know in the comment section below. Smash that thumbs up button for me. It really helps out the channel. Subscribe if you are not subscribed. We got tons of great content coming. Anna bars are in stock. Hold on. Here we go, baby. That fruity cereal crunch flavor. This is right now my personal favorite, the best tasting protein bar you've ever had. FinalBossFormulas.com. Code RGF10 saves you 10%. Now shipping faster than ever. And yeah, I think that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Appreciate you as always. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see each and every one of you at the next video. See you guys. Boom, baby. I got a brisket to eat.